It's the nation's capital, bustling and brawny and beautiful. It's a city that's also a battlefield, where politicians tussle and spar, commuters fight through traffic congestion. It's a city with a long history of skirmishes fought along racial and economic and class divides. This is the story of a different battle fought over many of the old divides. On this small stretch of land, neighbors fought against neighbors. Neighborhoods fought against neighborhoods.
There are no quick across-town routes. We need more. We need this as a road. We don't need it as a bike trail.
Because as you may know, the road was washed out in 1991, and then there was talk about rebuilding it, and so the citizens and environmentalists came out saying, no, we don't want a road here, what we want is a trail.
Bikers took on drivers. Everyone debated what was best for the environment.
We want, less drivers, less cars, and we want to do something that's environmentally friendly and environmentally sound, and this is just a great project for that.
They squared off over traffic and pollution and peace and quiet and access and influence.
The wealthy people who live around here got a park. That's what they wanted.
People east of the park were waiting for the road to be fixed and had no idea that this had happened. And you cannot close a road.
But out of the old, familiar fights, something new arose, something peaceful and innovative and green. It wasn't easy, it wasn't fast, and it certainly wasn't without controversy.
DDOT is twisting fundamental DC transportation laws beyond recognition. This committee must recognize that a Klingle Hike bike trail is nothing but a $7 million bad idea for our city.
One side wants the road, one side wants the trail, and looks like the trail went out.
But now it's here.
It's really nice. It's really nice. Yeah.
The great thing about Klingle Gorge is that in the middle of all this urbanization, it's a place where the residents can come and get away from it all.
Welcome to the road to the Klingle Valley Trail.
It's wonderful to see everyone here, and I want to thank you for joining us. Standing behind me are a number of people who have made this project come together over a number of years, and I dare say the people in front have made it come together over a number of years. So let's give everybody a round of applause that has been involved in this project.
It takes a whole group of partners to get this done. So thank you very much.
We had some fantastic partners at the Sierra Club and the DC Environmental Network and many others that made this project possible.
Finally to be here today, it's both a celebration but a relief, really.
It took more than 2.5 decades to get here, 26 years to be exact, to get to this little oasis in the heart of the city. 26 years of protest and promises, neglect and negotiation, all over a 3/4-mile stretch of land that holds a story about the past and a path toward the future. It started with a storm. Through the years, this section of Klingle Road, tucked into Klingle Valley alongside a creek, lost many a battle with Mother Nature.
Is if you had been here in the past, the drainage issues and the flooding, even as a road, it was extraordinarily dangerous, with the freezing, the ice and everything. And then the roadway started to fall. The stream bed was becoming eroded. It was a nightmare back here.
But in the fall of 1991, a storm flooded and washed away enough of the road to make that section impassable. The city, along with the National Park Service, retreated from the battle against storms and erosion and closed this stretch of Klingle Road. That was 26 years ago. A new D.C. Mayor, Sharon Pratt Kelly, had come into office, replacing Mayor Marion Barry. The city was facing a budget crisis. Klingle Road remained closed as months stretched into years.
I mean, it's a historical situation. It's been going on for 25 years.
But the road had a long history and purpose.
The purpose of the road when it was built was to allow agricultural people on the east side over here take their goods to the west over in Georgetown.
To understand the scope of the problem, it helps to know a little bit about the city's geography, which underscored much of its economics and politics. East and west are divided by Rock Creek Park, more than 1,700 acres of woods and streams, a divide that was historically characterized by class and race and the haves and have-less.
As modern transportation, it became a very convenient way to get from one side of town to the other, mostly for the people on the other side of town to come over here for some of the schools. For me personally, I taught at Catholic University for a while, and it was a way for me to get over there.
Getting over to Children's Hospital, getting over to the Veterans Hospital, Washington Hospital Center for this side of town. For the other side of town, we really don't have a lot of east-west roads.
Some 3,200 cars drove on Klingle Road each day. The road connected the very racially and economically diverse Mount Pleasant neighborhood in Ward 1, east of the park, to the Tony Ward 3 neighborhood of Woodley Park, west of the park. High-end luxury homes lived in by many titans of politics and the media, many who didn't mind this section of the road being closed at all and lobbied to keep it that way.
The road wasn't repaired because a very small group of influential people in this neighborhood had the ear of the city. They convinced them that they did not have to spend the money to fix the road, that they liked it the way it was.
As the road sat closed in disrepair, the delay and the decay continued. Funding came and went. By 2003, a dozen years after the closing, the D.C. Council, led by Mayor Anthony Williams, voted to fund and rebuild the road. Plans and funding stalled. In 2008, a new mayor, Adrian Fenty, announced the city would rebuild the closed section of Klingle Road. But opposition to the rebuilding was building steam. Allies included environmentalists like the Sierra Club, which leafleted and brought attention to the effort.
I have to credit the city council. This was a difficult sell 15 years ago, and we actually lost one vote on the city council. They voted to construct the road, and then we waited and we came back, and they changed their mind. It was partly because the city council got more and more environmental, and so hats off to them. And we have a more environmental council these days, and we're seeing a lot of benefits, and this is one of them.
Biking groups joined the effort, pushing for a trail that would serve bikers and hikers, not cars.
Our organization was founded in 1972, and we've been working on this project for nearly 2 decades.
The Tregarin Conservancy next door buttressed their argument for a green space.
So Tregarin is the immediate neighbor to the Klingle Valley Trail to the north and the west. And we've been working with the Klingle Valley Trail crew for this entire project. It's been really exciting for us to see the district's commitment to green infrastructure and this incredible environmental restoration project that's been going on.
This trail and the Tregarin Conservancy are the product of about 25 years, each of them, of long, persistent efforts to preserve this natural habitat.
The faces and forces on the city council changed, and a new Ward 3 city council member, Mary Che, would lead the final charge.
But by the time I came on the council had voted to reopen it as a road. That was my opportunity. So I worked council member by council member and ultimately got the vote reversed.
Che persuaded the council to approve a provision calling for a section of the road to remain closed to motorized vehicular traffic. There would still be 7 more years of contention, environmental studies, hearings, and a lawsuit.
And that's been the story over 30 years, that the feds were willing to spend the money on it, except local politicians, at the behest of some of the more wealthy neighbors here, And we fought that.
But that was the end of the road. This section of Klingle Road would become a trail, but it would also become a trailblazer. An infrastructure problem would be solved, and an environmental headache would be cured using innovative green design and construction.
The Klingle Valley Trail job will start sometime in July of 2015.
The Anchor Construction Company was chosen for the more than $7 million project. Construction was scheduled to begin nearly 2.5 decades after the road had washed out.
And it starts from, it goes from Porter Street to Cortland Place in Northwest DC, and it abuts the zoo and a lot of residents, and we expect that we'll have to deal with a lot of residents and the district people.
Anchor Construction has built and repaired streets and bridges and utilities throughout the D.C. metropolitan area, Northern Virginia, and Baltimore for more than 30 years. This project involved coordination by Anchor Construction, the Department of Transportation, D.C. Water, Washington Gas, and the National Park Service. It was a physical challenge and a public relations tightrope.
And we're going to have to navigate through some issues because the existing gas line there is going to have to be replaced. So we're going to have to work with the gas company to have them do that work first, and then we'll come behind and start doing the other work that needs to be done.
At 4+00, that's where we come across, right up there at that tree. And you were at 50 feet down this way.
We make sure that we are saying all the right things and that we keep the public informed, and that, to me, that's going to be part of the challenge, is to make sure that we keep the residents informed, and I think that will alleviate a lot of anxiety from the residents in that area.
The mission was to build Klingle Valley Trail, but also construct a new drainage and sewer system that could be a prototype used throughout the city. Klingle Road's problems stretched beyond the crumbling asphalt and pointed to a larger region-wide problem. The drainage system along the road was old, built in the 1920s and 30s. As the neighborhoods in Northwest D.C. were developed, the stormwater runoff increased, and that often overwhelmed the drainage systems and led to frequent flooding in low-lying areas like this stretch of Klingle Road.
And any way we can reduce the amount of water that's getting into our sewer systems through green infrastructure helps us reduce the amount of sewage that overflows into Rock Creek. From here, Anchor Construction is also working to the east of this location on a $27 million project to install green infrastructure in a number of locations in the Piney Branch area.
This brought in D.C. Water's Clean Rivers Project, a nearly $3 billion program aimed at capturing 96% of the sewage that's currently flowing into the city's rivers, the Anacostia, the Potomac, and Rock Creek.
So what we're doing is we have located, or DC Water has located, over 100 different areas on our hardscape, on our streets, our alleyways, our parking lanes, our curbs, and bioretention areas, so that instead of the large giant tunnels, we're building these little tiny facilities that will hold rainwater for approximately 48 hours, and then it'll dissipate into the system.
And this is the starting point, building the Klingle Valley Trail. And that meant confronting the challenge of years of neglect. Those years of neglect had also allowed more erosion in the valley.
All right, so we are in another section of the trail that is very critical because water found a way to cross the pass from the left to the right, creating all this erosion. And wintertime, it turns to an ice rink. So one of our first goals would be to control the stream of the water, to go under the trail and redirect to the stream. While doing that, we're going to need to remove all these columns and create a barricade so, no equipment or people fall to the stream.
Midsummer, critical phase 1 involved working with the Washington Gas Company, clearing a road for their trucks to get in and install pipes.
We are exactly in the point that we were concerned about the project access for the gas company. So we installed the geofabric, riprap class 2 and class 1, and we put 10 inches of structural concrete. So as you can see, the trucks for the gas company can haul in and haul out material from where they are excavating and installing the trench.
We're excavating to install our 12-inch gas main, and we ran into a lot of rock here, so now we gotta break some and dig some. So it's really slow. We thought we would be further ahead, but we can't get around the rock, so that's what we're dealing with.
Anchor Construction then had to restore the stream to prevent more flooding.
The stream runs on the right side of the trail, and here is a good example of the erosion that happened over the 20 years. And in case of heavy rains, this stream floods. The water table raises up to this level of this tree here in a question of minutes.
Another challenge was met by putting up fences so work could proceed safely.
This is super silt fence on the lower side of the project, all the way down next to the stream, so the stream doesn't get contaminated with the rainwater.
Steel fence on the top?
Yes. And then we have a construction fence. That's the green fence you'll see around. That is to avoid pedestrians, the neighbors, to walk the dogs or trespassing to the work zone. That's been a concern we've been having since day one.
Yeah, we have a lot of signs saying that the trail is closed and the pedestrians cannot walk here, and the people still cut the fence, walk inside the job.
The following spring, April 2016, a revised schedule, but progress. Full speed ahead, installing a new water quality structure.
So this structure is going to collect the storm water from the street. It's going to filter all the sediments in a bunch of 4 boxes, and the water then is going to flow directly to the stream, nice and clean.
But a new challenge. The construction team discovered the existing retaining wall had to be rebuilt.
We are now here what we call retaining wall number 2. This is a new condition we found. The existing wall was undermined by all erosion and it was collapsing. So we had, in order for the trucks to come in and out, had to remove the existing stone wall that basically had no structural capability and build a temporary shoring system, and we're designing a phasing concrete shoring system, and later on a gravity wall with stamped form liner that will match the existing stones in this project.
More work, replacing sewer lines, and building the new wall with a little recycling, using salvaged materials to make the stone facade.
All right, so now we're here in the middle of the stream because I want to show you what was our first challenge. Was the wall that was holding the road that was collapsing. After the wall, we built a gravity concrete wall, and then we just faced it with existing salvage stone from the project. And as you can see, we have this beautiful retaining wall that will incorporate with the stream and with the existing materials salvaged from this project.
Fall 2016, October. Building what is called a gravity wall is well underway. The process is complicated.
So this gravity wall was built in 2 phases. One, the concrete shoring, that at the same time we put a concrete footing that is going to be the same footing for the final wall. And it was for the temporary shoring wall. The gravity wall that we're pouring now is braced to the existing footing so it doesn't lift with the weight of the concrete. This wall will take around 2 months to build, and it's approximately 2,500 square feet. The form liners were special order made in California. It took around 6 weeks to get them here for this project. And we already looked how the color is being also painted and selected by matching the existing.
Next, the new wall gets a makeover, a detailed paint job, so it'll match the salvage stones.
Milton Carvajal, and I'm doing the mock-up for the retaining wall to match to the existing old stone wall. First thing, we apply the primer. The second one is gonna be the natural color for the old existing wall. And the third one is gonna be just a little touch-up of the one that it was ready on the existing wall. It's gonna be 3 coats to match this retaining wall.
And the wall is standing here, but behind this wall is actually another wall, 4 or 5 feet back, that helps hold the whole embankment and the whole trail down from coming down this way. So you got 2 walls here. This is a veneer wall, and then another wall behind. So both are structurally, but the other one is more structurally than this one. This was just to kind of tie everything up.
Now, time to throw a little light on the subject. They're installing 52 light poles with special globes so the light flows in an oval, and that helps decrease another form of pollution, light pollution.
So what we're going to talk about now are the light poles that are going in at Klingle Valley Trail. We have about 52 light poles to be installed by our subcontractor with special globes that'll focus the light in an oval array and a spray down to help reduce any light pollution that is of concern here. Light pollution is an excess amount of light which has the potential to disrupt or disturb the natural habitat in this area. Some of the concern is that it will adversely affect it, but due to the specialized spray or array designed to focus the light downward towards the trail, it should help out tremendously with any issues with any natural wildlife and help secure the site for any pedestrians, cyclists, whatnot throughout the trail.
Of course, one of the main goals of this project is to effectively handle storm overflow with a drainage system that will be used citywide to handle this area problem.
What you see here is a specially designed project by DDOT where we are prepared to install a baffle board system which allows for certain storm events based on expected water flow. So the purpose of this structure is to allow for any overflow that may occur during a serious storm event. As of now, the structures that have been installed have done their job. We've had a serious storm event recently in which everything that has been installed as per our subcontractor for the stream restoration and renovation has funneled the water where it should be. Any overflow has come in here, has been diverted to where it should have been, and reestablished back into the stream downflow.
Here I'm standing on between various step pools that are built throughout this job. The step pools are built to not only slow down the water that is coming down the creek, but also to have an area where the water will hang like a little pond. And like I said, there's various throughout the job here. And what happens is all the excess water that doesn't stay on the site, it will come into the creek here.
It's spring, April 2017, planting season, putting in greenery to create a habitat that'll help manage water flow, and building what are called swales, barriers that help slow and capture water runoff and filter out pollutants.
Right behind us, we actually have 4 bioretention ponds. So again, same idea, let's keep stormwater on site for as long as possible. So these ponds are great in such a way, there's 4 of them, where stormwater will come from our pipe here, outlet into the first pond. It builds up to a certain elevation where it's allowed to drain to a pipe to the next pond and keep working its way down slowly over the 4 ponds. Again, the whole time, the system's removing any contaminants, sediments. It's also preventing any erosion further downstream in Klingle Stream as well as Rock Creek.
This bioretention facility is made up of 9 inches of VT7 stone, and then on top of that is like a 3-inch of sand and gravel called a choker layer,
and then above that is the biossoil to make this up, and then later on they planted the flowers and the bushes and the trees. Here I'm standing between two of the bioretention facilities, and we're looking at looks like a 24-inch drain that if the facility overflows, the water will go inside that drain and then carry on to the next facility through a 12-inch RCP pipe.
So this project utilizes actually a few different green infrastructure improvements on the project. And that's something that DDOT's trying to do a lot of their projects now, with the whole idea being to hold a certain amount of stormwater on site rather than dumping it directly into the sewer system, or in our case, into Klingle Stream.
Here at Klingle Valley Trail, we have two distinct types of swales that have been installed on the site. What you see on a more sloped area are the riprap swales, which will help reduce the velocity energy of any water that does happen to make it into the swale. In addition, we have the bioswales, which are made of a variety of layers of material, biomix, and what you see here at a virtually almost finished product are the plant bed mix that has now just been planted with some of the plantings, which will help stabilize the swale itself. And what you're looking at here are a system where we've installed an excavation of a variety of biomaterials, from a choker layer to a biosoil to another perforated drain pipe to help the collection and redistribution of any excess stormwater or rainwater that flows onto the site. And throughout the bioswales of installation, we have check dams, which are installed every 50 feet of number 2 stone.
Check dams aren't fancy new technology. They're an ancient technique dating back to the 2nd century AD. The dams are placed at regular intervals along the swales.
Here I'm standing next to a grate, like a box that water will go into, so all the water that doesn't get caught by the bioretention facility or by the bioretention swale or by the riprap, then it comes in here, and then there's these pipes underneath here that takes the water across to the creek.
From the swale back to the trail. What's left of the old path is dug up and discarded, and a new trail is built from the ground up.
And what you see behind me is the installation or excavation of the existing trail with the installation of a variety of sub-base material with the number 8 stone, 57 stone, and number 8 stone. And mixed in there is a perforated drain pipe, which will help collect and redistribute all the excess rainwater or stormwater that comes into the site. So there's three layers of stone that go in prior to the asphalt pour. The base material is a number 8 stone, followed by the 57 double wash stone, followed by, again, a number 8 stone that'll go in with a perforated drain pipe that will have clean outs every so often.
Here I'm standing on top of the porous asphalt. And between all this, there's a pipe, 4-inch perforated pipe that runs not at the bottom, but at the top of the number 8 stone layer. And that runs through the whole trail. And the reason for that, so that the water will go all the way in, and then that pipe only gets used when the whole pavement gets full. All the stone gets saturated all the way up. And then over here on this side, we have the clean outs for that pipe.
Water, if it does sheet off at some point, flow in a certain direction, much like the road. Like your road is sloped at a 2%, where it forces it to go to one side or the other.
And the beginning of the end, the installation of the base layer of the innovative technique that will help improve drainage throughout the area, the porous asphalt.
So what you see behind me here today is the installation of our first lift, the base layer for our porous asphalt that's being installed at the Klingle Valley Trail. It'll be installed in a 2-lift system where we'll have 3-inch base installed as well as an 1.5-inch top coat. The purpose of this porous asphalt is to help filter through any existing stormwater or rainwater that does come onto the site. We have a filtration system installed below of a variety of layers of stone. This is quite an extensive process, as the base material is quite sensitive in that we cannot contaminate it in any way, shape, or form. So the coordination between our subcontractor and our own crews is quite elaborate, and the coordination is and communication is quite extensive.
And now, a few finishing touches, installing access to the trail.
What we see behind me now is our subcontractor installing the standard asphalt path, 8 foot wide, in order to accommodate the transition from Klingle Trail to Rock Creek Trail. So what you see here is the tie-in to Rock Creek Trail, which will then cut across the bridge and smoothly transition to the existing trail.
And underneath it all, the beginning of a new sewage system to deal with the systematic problem of combined sewage overflows, or CSOs.
As well as with green infrastructure, we're installing 18 miles of tunnel, actually larger tunnels than the metro tunnels. We're actually 23 foot inside diameter, so we're larger tunnels, and we go underneath metro. And we have some very, very large CSOs that spill raw sewage, combined sewage, 75 to 80 times a year. Green infrastructure would help to reach our target goals. We also need to capture and treat that sewage. So we're doing that with this tunnel system where instead of allowing the sewage to overflow during a rain event into the river, we divert that and drop it 100 to 120 feet below the ground. But all that flow goes down there by gravity, and then we pump it up, and then we treat it. We treat it, recycle that water, and discharge it into the Potomac River a whole lot cleaner than what's going on right now.
And so today we're here because we crossed the finish line to the Klingle Valley Trail project. And we've come a long way.
A long way to building a new green space.
It just shows that if you're persistent in the city, you can make something happen that's very positive.
A long way to build a bridge from the past to the future.
What has happened, though, in the intervening years, I hope, is that we've evolved and we've become more progressive about our thinking about both the environment and transportation, so that we no longer bow at the feet of the car culture, and we understand it has to be cars with other forms of transit, walking, biking. Cars have to be in balance with nature and the environment.
As DC looks to fulfill our agreement and commitment to the Paris Climate Accord, it's really important that we think about how we can solve some of these international global problems like climate change locally.
1, 2, 3.
But for all the joy and sense of accomplishment, after all those years of battle, not all the wounds have healed.
They say, oh, it's a bike trail, it'll handle environmental needs. It doesn't. It does just the opposite. We need this as a road. We don't need it as a bike trail.
And depending on which side of the road you're on,
it's a waste of money on a park that's not needed.
Tax dollars well spent.
An investment on this quiet battlefield, a vanguard that paved the way for a new system of dealing with water overflow, paved the way for embracing earth-friendly ways of transportation, paved the way for city residents to enjoy our many peaceful places, and enjoy a greener, cleaner place to live.